The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the First Credit Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, also known as North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. Although it is Black History Month, it is so crucial to not only acknowledge this land, but to value and appreciate whose land we're on. I can personally relate to us Africans being exploited from our resources, our land, and our overall being, but I could say that we've overcome it in a way. But unfortunately, I cannot say the same about the Indigenous people. And this is not only about us once again. It's until they're free, we are not either. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Sarita Goldburn, and I'm a grade 12 student at Cathedral High School.
And hi, my name is Malika Ahmed, and I'm a grade 12 student at Bishop Bryan High School.
And we are thrilled to be here today celebrating Black History Month with our greater school community. The theme for our school board this year is allyship. In the showcase ahead, you will get an opportunity to see a variety of lessons, performances, and messages that are informative, educational, and provide a bit of insight on what it means to be an ally.
As Black students in our school community, it's incredibly important that we use our thoughts and our voices on issues that impact us every single day, not just this month. Black Lives Matter, and we want members of our community to stand with us as allies on this hard road towards equity that lies ahead.
Up first, we would like to welcome our board's equity officer, Alicia Ralph, to highlight and explain the significance of allyship to our greater school and Hamilton community.
Hello, students, staff, and parents. My name is Alicia Ralph, and I am your equity officer here at the board. I thank you so much for joining us today to celebrate Black History Month. Black History Month is a month where we celebrate Black Canadians and other prominent Black figures around the world through the recognition of their achievements. We also reflect on their history of inequality and their continued struggle for racial justice. Although this is a special month, I challenge you to continue to celebrate and reflect on Black history throughout the whole year. The theme of Black History Month this year is allyship. To be an ally means to stand with the community and take action to support that group. As a Catholic community, we believe in the fundamental dignity of every human person. As Pope Francis has said, we cannot tolerate or turn a blind eye to racism and exclusion of any form, yet claim to defend the sacredness of every life. Jesus was an ally when he touched people with leprosy. Jesus was an ally when he stood up for the woman who was about to be stoned. Jesus was an ally when he ate dinner with Zacchaeus, who was excluded from the community. And Jesus was an ally when he publicly absolved people from their sins. As we enjoy the great celebrations of Black perseverance and talent, we reflect on how we can be allies to end racism, transcending social action and protest to examining how our very own structures create and contribute to racial inequality. I'll leave you with a quote by Maya Angelou. If you don't like something, change it. If you cannot change it, change your attitude. Let's move beyond having a dream to reality free from racism in our world. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Black History Month and stay safe, and God bless you.
This article was published on June 3rd, 2020. Like many of you, I have had a very difficult week. I've been pretty silent about race relations up until now, not because they don't affect me on a daily basis as a Black woman, but simply because I didn't want to make anyone feel embarrassed, ashamed, or uncomfortable discussing a sensitive topic. I can no longer stay silent. I know many of you are horrified by the atrocities you have seen on the news, but have stayed quiet on the matter because you don't know what to say or how to express how you feel. It's understandable. You can offer your support by doing many things, like signing petitions to support the Black Lives Movement, financially contributing to similar causes, peacefully attending rallies in your community, or simply posting an image on your social media to show your support for people of color. The bottom line is, please do something. And now I'd like to speak more specifically to those of you who are parents. How do you go about navigating discussions concerning race with your kids? Here are some suggestions. When you have your baby shower and register for books, add ones that have images of Black people in them. Early exposure to different faces will help your child recognize diversity. When your daughter gets older and starts playing with dolls, buy some that look like her, but also some that have brown skin in all different shades and hair textures. So when she goes off to kindergarten, her eyes will light up when she sees the pretty Black girl with beads dangling from the end of her braids because she looks just like her favorite doll. If you live in a predominantly white neighborhood, make a conscious effort to sign her up for extracurricular activities outside of your community, even if it's a little less convenient for you. When it's late and you think your kids have finally gone to bed and have settled in to watch some TV, but then your little one finds you because he can't sleep, put your angel's head in your lap as you comfort him. Even though you want to watch your favorite reality show where the sassy Black woman is cussing out her baby daddy, change the channel to the drama where the Black chief of medicine is performing emergency surgery instead. When it comes time to redecorate your freshly painted walls, consider acquiring something from a Black artist or a painting with Black people featured in it. When your son comes home from school and you ask how his day was, and for once he doesn't respond with, "Fine," but starts telling you about how the boy in his class with a difficult name to pronounce had to stay in for recess again today, and then says he doesn't understand why he is the only one who is constantly getting in trouble because other kids talk back too, perk your ears up and be cognizant of when you hear that boy's name spoken by your son again and the context surrounding it. When your 88-year-old great aunt nonchalantly starts telling a story at Christmas dinner about that damn N-word who cut her off last week, stop the conversation, tell her you do not use that type of language in your house, and if she has a problem, she is more than welcome to leave. When you get home one day and see your 16-year-old daughter studying for her exam with a 6'2", handsome boy with skin as dark as the night, do not be paralyzed with fear or wonder if she actually likes him. Instead, shake his hand, introduce yourself, and ask if he'd like to stay for dinner. When your pizza arrives, try not to lead the conversation by asking him which sports he plays, but rather ask how he liked the other classes he took this semester, what his hobbies are, and if he's watched anything good on Netflix lately. And when your son is all grown up and becomes a police officer and you beam with pride, grab him in a tight hug and remind him that he's made a sworn oath to protect and serve everyone in his community. He will remind you that he already knows that because you have spent his whole life teaching him that Black people were not put on this earth to be tolerated, but to be celebrated.
Imagine being Black in a society that doesn't like you, or rather being Black in a society you don't belong to. Imagine this, over 100 years ago, Black men and women were forced into a time loop where they had to work 24/7 and get nothing but pain and ate about a grain of rice. Imagine people actually thinking that slavery is abolished and racism isn't a thing. That racism isn't a byproduct of abuse to a race that did nothing but exist. Imagine people actually thinking that we're equal. That if I were to go running in the middle of the night with my Black friends, the police would look at us as innocent bystanders and not threats or suspects to crimes we did not even commit. Imagine that, because I can. That the justice system was built to protect all races, be it white or Black, Asian or Blasian, Hispanics. Like, yeah, y'all got nothing to panic for. Imagine that, because I can. The reality of things is that no matter how much we cry, protest, or scream about how much Black Lives Matter, we're still looked as villains in the hero's movie. Forgiving is not the same thing as forgetting. The only way to overcome the pain of the past is to not let history repeat itself. It's to stop racism once and for all. It's to understand why it was even stopped in the first place. It's to understand being Black in a society that wasn't built for you. It's to imagine being in the shoes of the oppressed for one day, and to understand the pain and suffering that goes with it. Imagine being Black in a society that doesn't like you, or rather being Black in a society you don't belong to.
Good morning, my name is Ms. Costello. Good morning, my name is Mrs. Deli. I teach grade 3-4. This month for Black History Month, we decided to focus a lot on allyship and what it means to be an ally. With my class, we decided to read the book Intersection Allies, We Make Room for All. This book is by Chelsea Johnson, Latoya Council, and Carolyn Choi. This book here talks about the different experiences that different children and different people experience based off of where they come from and different aspects in their lives. We talked in great detail about the different experiences within this book, but we stopped and we paid particular attention to the story of Naya. So within this book, we have, my name is Naya, and with what's on the news, it's easy to be frightened or sing the blues. For her, for them, for him, and for me, we all deserve to breathe and be free. So within stopping on this page, we talked a lot about what Black History Month represents. We talked a lot about racism, and we also talked a lot about the Black Lives Matter protests that have been going on within the United States and within the world today. And so with that, we talked about what it means to be an ally, and these are some of the examples that the class came up with here. And so we have that it means someone that is a friend, someone who stands by someone you can count on, someone that works with you, someone that helps you fight for what's right, someone who includes everyone, one of the people who don't ignore the problems of others and tries to make it better, someone who speaks up, someone who is on their side, someone who stands up for your rights, and someone who takes action. So after brainstorming all these ideas here, these students had a chance to come up with ideas of what they can do to be an ally, so they themselves. And these are some of what they came up with.
How I can be an ally. From being a friend to taking action, there are many ways you can be an ally. You can help and stick up for other marginalized social groups. When you are younger, you can just learn about marginalized groups and their history. One of the most important things about being an ally is listening. You need to listen to others when they are telling you what happened or how your social group hurt them in any way. Though we as kids might not be able to do certain things, let's do what we can do, which is listening.
I can be an ally by being nice and not fighting. Being an ally doesn't just mean to be nice. It means to help and stick up for the right side. To be an ally is to not bully, but to see someone counts on. To be an ally is to not think highly of yourself because you think you're the greatest because you help a lot of people. All you think when you're an ally is helping people, and that's what you can do to be an ally. I can be an ally by understanding that on the inside everyone's the same. Also, Black Lives Matter, and it's important to know that. Black History Month was created so we can remember that Black people were and still are, as I'm speaking, are getting treated very wrongly. In fact, some of them are losing their lives, unfortunately. So it's important that we, and not only us listening, but everyone on earth needs to understand that bullying people because of their race needs to stop.
From standing by someone to speaking up for them, there are many ways to be an ally. For example, by taking action and being defended. One way I can be an ally is just to join their side. Not the wrong side, but a good side. That's one way I can be an ally. How can you be an ally? Think about that.
Hello all, this is newscaster and Cathedral High School teacher Mr. D'Souza. We have a very special broadcast coming to you today on our Hamilton Heritage Minute segment. As you may or may not know, Hamilton was a key part of the early Black community in Canada. In fact, it often served as a destination point at the end of the famed Underground Railroad that brought many African American slaves to freedom. While things in Hamilton weren't always perfect then and are certainly not perfect now, there was and still is enough good in this city to allow a better life to those who had the courage to strive for it. Too often, we overlook our local history, and it has many things to teach us. The rights and wrongs of the past have a way of shedding light on the path through the present. With that in mind, we have two of our best reporters on scene at a monumental Hamilton landmark. Without further delay, I'll throw it over to Jasmine Wall-Gordon and Paige Wallace reporting live from Hamilton's historical Little Africa.
Thank you, Mr. D'Souza. As you can see by the bustling scene behind us, modern-day Concession Street on Hamilton Mountain is hardly the edge of town that it was almost 200 years ago. Though today it is a place of natural diversity. Beginning in the early 1800s, it was a lonely beacon of hope to those suffering under the brutal whip of slavery. When some persecuted and oppressed slaves from the southern United States made their courageous escape, they traveled the dangerous routes known as the Underground Railroad. Aided by such civil rights giants as Harriet Tubman, many of these slaves tracked west to the freedom of Canada. With bloodthirsty dogs and cruel slave masters nipping at their heels, these brave men and women managed to make it to the Niagara River just before Niagara Falls. There, under the cover of darkness, they would boat or swim the river and land on the banks of Canadian freedom. From here, some would eventually work their way to Hamilton, where many were able to purchase land on the new city's frontier. 60 to 70 freed slaves settled on the edge of Hamilton, on the very street you saw behind us now. Here, they founded the Mission Church and had a life of relative freedom. In fact, so great was the concentration of freed slaves that Concession Street became known as Little Africa. Back to you, Mr. D'Souza.
Thank you, Jasmine and Paige, for that vital piece of history. Hamilton is truly a special place, and we as a community must work together to make sure it stays that way for all. We need to take courage from our past, from the good people of this area before us who were brave enough to cut a path through the noose of oppression. That courage is what it takes to know when something is wrong, and when something is wrong, we must act on it. Though it may be uncomfortable, nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. Until next time, take care of each other, Hamilton.
This is a poem I've written titled Black Girl. Black girl, you have the worst of both worlds. You have the struggles of both being black and female. You are very often overlooked, your strength taken for granted, your self-expression labeled ratchet. Too loud, too much, not enough. Don't they know that you are magic? Your existence alone is not easy. Your own men belittle you while they praise the white woman. The white woman who is not there to heal your wounds after you've been whipped. The white woman who does not hesitate to yell rape, incarcerating and keeping you trapped as a slave, using a loophole for the 13th Amendment. Black girl, you are exceptional. You are elegance. You are art, loyalty, strength, and so much more than just enough. In fact, you are too much to be understood, too beautifully complex to be understood. Black girl, you have never been taught to love your natural hair. You were taught that a perm, a weave, a wig makes you more beautiful. To imitate the white girl looking hair type is more professional looking, more attractive. Black girl, your short, medium, long, kinky, curly hair is a crown. Wear it proudly.
Allyship, by definition, is an active practice of learning and unlearning, in which a person in a position of power and privilege wants to work in solidarity with marginalized or oppressed groups. An online journal article states, God, through the incarnate Jesus, willingly relinquished power, status, reputation, and privilege when he took on human flesh. Jesus modeled self-emptying love that lifted up the lowly and brought justice to the oppressed. Allyship involves exercising one's privilege for good, for the betterment of someone else. If you have ability, privilege, and a platform to use, give your BIPOC colleagues and students the platform to amplify their voices. Disrupt power imbalances that exist in the workplace in order to release your privilege and create a more meaningful and inclusive environment. In allyship, one must first give attention to those impacted by injustice. Seek to understand the needs of the BIPOC community and how they want to be supported. This involves actively listening and wanting to learn from those who have lived experiences of oppression. Seek out their opinions and stories. This requires that we speak less and listen more. During this process, we must take ownership of our learning. This means reflecting on our biases and being aware of harmful language. Begin to unlearn in order to engage effectively with the BIPOC members. An ally will speak up, but not speak over the voices of the BIPOC community. It is important to be aware of the difference between intent and impact. An ally will learn to listen to how they have negatively impacted a person of color. In these moments, an ally will pause, accept criticism with grace, and refocus their efforts in other ways. The key is to be accountable. Apologize sincerely and learn from your mistakes. They're going to happen. In conclusion, it is important to note that allyship is not a noun. It is a verb. It is an ongoing effort to build a trusting and accountable relationship with the BIPOC community. It is our ongoing human mission to have a Christ-like love, to humble ourselves as Jesus did in order to bring justice to the oppressed. There are diversity committees, individuals and groups within our school board who work every day to learn to do as Jesus did. Allyship is an opportunity to offer encouragement and support to your peers by acknowledging that all opinions and voices matter. At CHS, we have a STEP squad which embodies just that. It is a form of creative and critical expression from the BIPOC community. Stepping finds its origins in African foot dances. It is a dance as a call and response to uplift audiences. It has also become a way for people to show pride and unity in their group. That grand tradition of unity and camaraderie in STEP has been passed through generations, and I am proud to introduce the Cathedral High School STEP Squad, who, despite being separated by the pandemic, have managed to unite their voices and talents to showcase the movements and creativity of the Black community.
Joanna, your busy body, busy tonight. Mad. Joanna, making all the dummy tonight. Joanna, your busy body, giving me life, oh, hey life, hey. Why you do me like Joanna? Joanna. Why you do me like Joanna? Joanna. How you gonna do me like Joanna? Joanna. Hey Joanna. Joanna. Ay. Hey. How you gonna play me like Drogba, ho? How you gonna do me like Drogba, ho? Oh, DJ Drogba, ho. Hey, DJ Drogba, ho. Joanna, your busy body busy tonight. Mad. Joanna, making all the dummy tonight. Joanna, your busy body giving me life, oh, hey life, hey. How you do me like Joanna, Joanna? How you do me like Joanna, Joanna? How you gonna do me like Joanna, Joanna? Hey Joanna, Joanna. Joanna.
Broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out and move mountains. We gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll bring this world to its feet and move mountains and bring it to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. We will rise, we will rise, we will rise. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, rise like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you,
Stories matter. Many stories matter. Stories have been used to dispossess and to malign, but stories can also be used to empower and to humanize. Stories can break the dignity of a people, but stories can also repair that broken dignity.
As educators, every day we stand in front of a class full of students. Each student a unique individual, diverse in their appearance, background, and traditions.
They bring with them their stories and their experiences. Every day when we stand in front of that classroom, we are granted a power and a privilege. A power and privilege that is subtly ingrained in our institutions. We look the part, we fit the mold, our stories have been told. You can see it in our textbooks, you can see it in the literature, you can see it in those who hold positions of authority.
But we are allies. This means it is time to step aside and acknowledge other voices, to allow the stories and experiences of our diverse student body to be heard, to challenge the inequity, to overcome the fears, to lead with empathy.
Allyship looks like researching diverse authors, mathematicians, and scientists. It's everyday action and not just a post on social media.
Allyship sounds like changing the conversation from racism to anti-racism. It sounds like the voices of many and not only a select few.
Allyship feels like a community working against hate and not people working against each other. It feels like safety and acceptance and not anti-anybody else.
Allyship is being hopeful for the progress and growth to come, but mindful of the work that still needs to be done.
Remember, we are not to blame for our privileges if we're lucky to have them. Often, there is nothing we can do to eliminate them.
But as individuals, as teachers, as leaders, and as allies, we can take responsibility for how we use our privilege to offset the imbalance of power it enforces. Be open-minded.
Be courageous.
Be a trailblazer.
Be fearless.
Be an ally.
That when we reject the single story, when we realize that there is never a single story about any place, we regain a kind of paradise. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Malik Ahmed. This is a poem I wrote about the Black experience entitled Too Black. I make the white lady nervous, just for being a young black teen. They didn't know I was raised in poverty, holding onto this young black dream. She calls the cops, they pull out Glock, trying to see the young black bleed. Bullets fly through the air, hear single mom scream. Cold metal piercing through my body. This is it seems. They don't care about our cries or prayers or our pleads. What's to be left of me? Another name to yell so restlessly? Desensitized to these black casualties, watching them drop so casually. That's blasphemy. Did y'all like to say we're all equal in opportunity? Yeah, we're all able. Knowing damn well you never give someone like me a seat at that table. You told me I'm too black to date your daughter, but I'm just black enough for you to sing my songs. I'm too black to live in your neighborhood, but I'm just black enough to mow your lawn. I'm too black to hold a conversation, but I'm just black enough to deliver your mail. And I'm definitely too black to run for your government, but I'm the perfect amount of black to fill your jails. So yeah, be afraid of the power we possess being colored kings and queens. You're not going to silence me like you did my brother when you're screaming I can't breathe. I don't give a damn about your feelings. Y'all killing my people. This is not a game. It's all the little black girls out there. Listen to what I say. Don't you ever stop correcting people when they mispronounce your name.
We would like to sincerely thank everyone for taking the time to celebrate Black History Month with us today. Your support and attendance speaks volumes as an example of what allyship looks and feels like. What we saw today was simply a glimpse into some of the work that is being done within our greater school community. However, it would be remiss if we failed to acknowledge all of those who have been doing and are continuing to do incredible, meaningful, and equitable work. And perhaps more often than not, without fanfare, acknowledgement, and recognition. We stand with you and are grateful for all you do for our community. Thank you. We would also like to take this time to thank everyone who helped us bring this project together. To all of our students, staff, those in front of the camera, and those working tirelessly behind the scenes. None of this is possible without your bravery, sacrifice, and selfless efforts as a collective. Thank you. Although we may have only heard the voices of some of our advocates and allies today, meaningful shifts happen when we are open to having tough and honest conversations. This is further amplified the moment we are willing to acknowledge that much work lies in the road ahead. So let us move beyond the performative and the superficial. And let us start doing more than simply listening so that we may respond. Instead, let us start listening so that we may understand. Most importantly, to our Black, racialized, and entire student population, keep dreaming, educating yourself, and do not ever, ever lose hope. Your voices matter. They are valuable and have the capacity to change the world for the better. So let us lend our voices, let us lend our hearts, and let us lift one another up so that we may collectively build a more equitable, inclusive, and loving community. We believe in you, we support you, and we wholeheartedly know that you're just getting started.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain.
For me, being an ally means recognizing my own position of power and privilege. It means listening to my Black, Indigenous, and people of color brothers and sisters without presumption. The Catholic Church's social teachings talk to us of solidarity, and to me that sums up allyship. Being in solidarity means amplifying the voices of those who are excluded and marginalized. It means advocating for spaces for those voices to be heard and working together to dismantle unjust power dynamics and systemic racism. As the Canadian Catholic Organization for Development and Peace has stated, we are one human family, and each person has inherent dignity that must be respected. As Catholics, we must do everything in our power to dismantle anything which undermines the God-given dignity of every human person.
No one can feel those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me.
Now for me, what that means is standing together, hand in hand, brother to brother, sister to sister, nation to nation. Nyala, thank you.
I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Call me if you need a friend.
To me, allyship is an extension of anti-bullying. The difference
is that allyship involves more than standing up on one occasion. Allyship is a daily practice of working with marginalized people and communities to build relationships of trust, provide equal access to resources, and promote equity and inclusion in all aspects of society.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, Lord.
Allyship to me, I think, means not speaking for people, but rather making sure there's a space for people who have something to say, that they can say it for themselves, and also a space not just that they can be heard, but they can actually be listened to. And so that's the important thing, making sure people get listened to when they have something to say. And as an English teacher, one of the things I hope to be able to do is give people resources and techniques to be able to say things effectively. So learn your English.
They say stay down and we stand up. Shots we on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure.
When it comes to tolerance, the thing to remember is tolerance is not enough, because Jesus didn't say, tolerate one another as I have tolerated you. He said, love one another.
It will be ours, it will be ours.